and held the Bible upside down and reprimanded the protesters. We all got amnesia in 2 years.
That's what happened though.
Yeah,
For a lot of people. And you've been doing this work for a really long time. I'm interested because it does feel like that's what happened. But how do you get people as emotionally charged as you were about it? Because people were emotionally charged when George Floyd was killed and when those different things were happening, which I think led to Biden. But they didn't care about the 34 charges. So how do you change that?
I think the way you change it is you got to be able to get people to understand the only way you're going to be able to make changes, you have to sustain a movement. I talk all the time about there are those of us that have tried to build organizations to sustain, and then you get those that are like flash, and you need them both because you need the flash to get the fire, but then that doesn't sustain.
What's good, Souls of Thought family? It's your boy Norris, and we back for another reaction video. As you can see, we're going to be reacting to Al Sharpton on the Breakfast Club interview. So I'm going to be showing this video with you guys, giving you guys my review of it and my reaction to it. With that being said, as you can see, even in the title of my name, it is the month of April. We are in Autism Awareness Month. Shout out to all the young men, older women, young women, everybody who's on the spectrum. Keep stemming, keep being excited, keep being the blessings that you are. But just want to say thank you to everybody who continues to support the Autism Awareness Month. But again, Souls of Thought family, if you made it this far, we only a minute in or so. But if you can hit that like button, hit that share button, and also hit the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed. Also, you can hit that notification bell if you're looking to get the videos when they come out or get notified when they come out. So hope everybody doing well today. Again, when this drop, Grown Folks Business would already been going live. We go live every other Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure you check out that live podcast of my Grown Folks Business panel where we talk about everything from politics to relationships. So just a great thing, great different point of view. You get to hear some different voices. Shout out to all my family that's on the Grown Folks Business podcast or panel, as I might say, every other Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So as you can see, we're going to jump right in to this reaction video of The Breakfast Club with Al Sharpton so you guys can hear. But I want you guys to really pay attention. We're going to point out some very key things today.
Wake that ass up in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Lauren Rosa filling in for Jess. We got a special guest in the building.
Yes, indeed.
We have Reverend Al Sharpton. Welcome back, Rev.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm real good.
You got your workout in this morning?
Every morning, 7 days a week, I got to get up and do it.
When the last time you missed one?
About maybe 7 years ago.
Really?
I don't care where I am in the world. Like you and I was in South Africa together, and I got up every day and did my workout.
Absolutely.
Now, the last time I seen you, Reverend, now we were coming back from D.C. We were on a plane together. This is right after Kamala Harris lost. Very sad, very upsetting. What do you think about the new presidency and what he's doing and all the things that that is affecting our communities? What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think that first of all, the only surprise I have is that everybody's surprised. He said he was going to do everything he's doing, tariffs, that he was coming after DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. He said that he was going to go after his enemies or those that he felt were opposed to him. So I don't know what the shock is.
So, hate to stop it so early in the video, but with that being said, Al Sharpton hit that on the head. This is what I've been telling all my constituents, all my haters, all the people out there. I don't know why you're upset. He told you what he was going to do. He told you the action plan, and y'all thought you were going to F around and find out. That's what a lot of people were saying. So, as Al Sharpton said it, hey, I don't understand why you're in shock. You already knew what was going to happen.
And I don't understand where all of the people that were saying that they didn't see the difference between Trump and the Democrats, how they have gotten laryngitis now and have not come back out and said, because none of what he's doing, what the Democrats doing. Now, nobody's been more challenging to the Democrats than I have all my life, but you can't act like that was the same thing. He has done a direct affront on Black people and working people, and no apologies. I mean, when you take down black servicemen's pictures on the Department of Defense's website,
we know that's fake. We know that's fake news now, and Al Sharpton is still talking about it. That's fake news.
including Jackie Robinson and Medgar Evers, you can't be more intentionally
And they put it back up.
offensive than that. So I think that the bad side is what he's doing. The good side is I think it's going to wake a lot of us up. Sometimes we need something to happen for us to understand what is really happening.
But when you're dealing with poor and disenfranchised people, how do you tell them that, if they're already living in hell, how do you tell them things are going to get hotter?
Because they get hotter. I mean,
but you're already in hell.
But you in hell, but the heat is up in hell. And the fact is, we're in hell economically. Trump is now saying, I'm going to make it worse. I'm going to use Social Security money, Medicare money. You had that in hell. I'm going to use that to balance the budget and pay for my billionaires.
And again, we know all this is fake news. We know that the Social Security isn't going nowhere. This is all fake news. But again, Al Sharpton has to stay on. He has to stay on pace. But he's going to start saying some very interesting things that I think are going to catch a lot of people off guard.
To get a tax cut. So when we tell ourselves it can't get worse, it can get worse. When Trump say, I'm going to bring back stop and frisk, which we all, National Action Network, was part of helping get down, that means you're going to get thrown up against the wall again. When Trump says that I'm going to deal with getting rid of all of these sentencing rules that can help you get out of jail. So there's a big difference in doing 2 years and doing 20. So, yeah, you in hell, and you are now, the fires in hell is being turned up. And to tell yourself, to try to rationalize your inactivity does not make you smart. Because a lot of brothers and sisters saying that to me, well, we were doing bad anyway. That's trying to rationalize that you were not trying to do better. To say that a man with 34 felony convictions, found guilty of sexual harassment, is better than a woman who did everything right, lawyer, attorney general, senator, went to Howard. And to give that example to your kids that, nope, I'll go with the felon because he got swagger, is to make us appear like we're not serious.
I don't think that's a fair comparison, though. And the reason I say that is because I don't think the vice president, of course she didn't run a perfect campaign. Who does? But I think that she suffered from being a part of the Democratic brand.
And this is what I appreciate. See, I appreciate this, Charlamagne. I don't know why we don't always get this, Charlamagne. You guys seen, if you haven't watched, go back and watch my Andrew Schultz. When Charlamagne is comfortable and he feels comfortable saying whatever he needs to say, he makes some very valid points. But don't let the right person come in there and he'll shut down and he'll go pro-Democrat, he'll go pro-liberal, but he's pushing back. And I appreciate that, Charlamagne.
As opposed to her. It wasn't the fact that they chose Donald Trump over her. They chose Donald Trump over Democrats, because I feel like it was the same thing in 2020. You had to fight to convince people to vote for Joe Biden. It was definitely the same thing in 2016. You had to fight people to convince for Hillary Clinton. The last time Democrats have been cool in the eyes of the people have been 08 and 012.
But then why did Biden win? The reason I don't accept that, Biden won.
A series of extraordinary circumstances, meaning George Floyd, COVID.
You don't think it was extraordinary? No. George Floyd and COVID happened.
Yeah.
And so did 34 felony. We saw that this is the only time we see in American history a man stand up in court.
He has to go back to Trump. He didn't like that. Charlamagne hey, Biden won because at the time, people felt that President Trump handled COVID incorrectly. We had all these Black Lives Matter things, and everybody was pushing to have some Democrat in that office. And then they picked somebody who was not a good pick.
Having to defend himself and attacking Black prosecutors. He went after Alvin Bragg. He went after Tish James. And the fact is that Donald Trump was the president when George Floyd happened. I did George Floyd's funerals, led the big marches. Mm-hmm. We could not get a peep out of the White House. Mm-hmm. So that don't wash with me. When you're standing there saying this man was president during COVID and told y'all to drink bleach, was president when George Floyd and never opened his mouth.
Let's not forget that we didn't need that vaccine. That vaccine actually harmed more people than it helped. But we're gonna keep doing this a little red. We're gonna talk about he didn't tell you to drink no bleach. They were just saying certain ingredients could actually benefit you. But anyway, we all know this stuff is like just old fake news. Half of y'all wouldn't even take that vaccine now if you had to. That's Democrat and Republican side. And think about it, people were threatened to lose their jobs because they didn't take a vaccine. But then we complain about federal jobs being cut. People lost their jobs wrongfully. They wrongfully lost their jobs. They forcefully were put out, especially in the military, put out due to not taking the vaccine. But then we come back 4 years later and we're pissed off because we're making federal cuts due to the money that we're spending in places that don't make sense. Make that make sense. We wrongfully forced people out of the military, out of different federal jobs because they didn't want to take a vaccine that the president at the time didn't even support. But then we now turn around and we're forcing people to get out of the federal government due to the unlawful spending of millions and trillions of dollars. But we don't see the two things. Okay.
Other than one time, walked across the street from the White House to the church and held the Bible upside down and reprimanded the protesters. We all got amnesia in 2 years.
That's what happened, though.
Yeah,
for a lot of people. And you've been doing this work for a really long time. I'm interested because it does feel like that's what happened. But how do you get people as emotionally charged as you are about it? Because people were emotionally charged when George Floyd was killed and when those different things were happening, which I think led to Biden. But they didn't care about the 34 charges. So how do you change that?
I think the way you change it is you got to be able to get people to understand the only way you're going to be able to make changes, you have to sustain a movement. I talk all the time about there are those of us that have tried to build organizations to sustain, and then you get those that are like flash, and you need them both because you need the flash to get the fire, but then that doesn't sustain it. I can tell you you said I've been there a long time. I can just go back the last 12 years. We saw groups after Trayvon, then they die out. And we saw groups after Michael Brown and Ferguson die out. Then we see groups on and all the way to George Floyd. That's why you need groups that's going to.
And I'm glad that he's giving facts, but he's also hurting the case. Because this is what I say all the time. The Black community only push agendas as long as they have the money to push them. And we all know what happened with Black Lives Matter. They literally just was a pyramid scheme, getting money from all types of sources, buying houses, buying cars. We all know that was a scheme. So we don't even have to discuss that. We all know Black Lives Matter was a scheme. But that's why we can't sustain anything. It's because once the people make the money that they're going to make from what they're doing, they fall back.
Sustain itself, whether it be on outside of civil rights or whether it be the nation that's going to be there when the smoke clear. Because the right wing has that. Don't forget, they went from Tea Party to birtherism to Donald Trump. So they have their flash guys, but they build institutions, and it led to Trump. And it's not even generational. That's the other cop-out. I was talking to a guy the other night. We're getting ready for our National Action Network convention. And he was coming and he said, I used to not understand y'all, but I'm next generation and I want to do this, that, and other, but I'm going to work with y'all. I said, let me ask you, how old are you? He said, I'm 43. I said, well, you ain't that young. I said, you do realize Vice President J.D. Vance is younger than you. He said, word? I said, Stephen Miller, the architect of the Project 2025, is 37 years old. This ain't about a generation, it's about an agenda. Those young guys on the right were smart enough to take a 78-year-old man that eat Big Macs in the middle of the night and sit on the toilet tweeting and make him president to get their agenda through. They divide us on whether you Christian, Muslim, young, old. We got to stop all that.
Hitting it on the head. You're going to disagree if you like, but he's hitting it on it. It's so easy to divide the Black community. And it doesn't matter because you need representation in all places. You even need Black Republicans. If you're trying to, you need Black people in all positions, Republican, Democrat, Independent. You need Black people in every position possible if you're really trying to push something for the Black community. We have to get away from what divides us and understand what is our agenda. and we don't have a black agenda.
And look at what made them victorious. There was no separation between them. They're a Christian church. They're radicals. They're young. They're old. That's what put Donald Trump back in.
So where the Democrats Project 2025?
That's a good question.
Why they don't have a Project 2028? Why they don't have a Project 2026?
They didn't have a Project 2020. We did. We did George Floyd. They didn't. I keep reminding people, the Democratic Party didn't lead the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement challenged the Democratic Party.
And Al Sharpton, again, he's really just hurting the case because he's literally saying things that 90% of conservative black people have been saying. The Democrats are done. You have to create something new. And like you said, but Democrats and African Americans will always go back and use the acts of the civil rights movement, the acts of Malcolm X, Martin Luther. They'll go back and use all these instruments to try to prove their point. But it wasn't your party who did it. It was just people who individually stood out and did what they needed to do. And that's why I always tell people everything starts from the grassroots level. It don't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. As a black man, if you really want change, as a black woman, if you really want change, it starts with us all having the same agenda. And you can have that. You don't have to have the same political beliefs to have the same agenda.
Lyndon Johnson and John Kennedy did what King and Farmer and Fannie Lou made them do. And when we are dependent on others to do for us, well, we ought to be leading the charge for ourselves. We always fooling ourselves.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of reasons I don't believe in the Democratic Party anymore. But, 2020, they won the election. They were in the White House for 4 years.
Did we hear that right? Oh, let me go back. What did Charlamagne just say?
And Fannie Lou made them do. And when we are dependent on others to do for us, well, we ought to be leading the charge for ourselves. We always fooling ourselves.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of reasons I don't believe in the Democratic Party anymore. But, 2020, they won the election. They were in the White House for 4 years. And that still didn't stop what we're seeing now. So how can we have faith?
So all you out there, you finally heard it. He never believed in the Democrat Party ever since 2020. You heard it. You heard it here first. If you didn't pay attention to the interview, think about what he's saying. So all those jokes that Andrew Schultz was saying that you had the black man that was a conservative, and here he goes.
For them to do anything. And I know you're saying, we can't depend on them, but you tell us to vote for them so they can go in there and stop these things from happening, but they didn't. They didn't stop the fascists from rising.
I think that we vote for them as the alternative to those that are openly going to do what Trump is doing now. Nobody's going to say that they're the perfection. But if I'm drowning in the water, if a guy going to bring me up 2 inches, rather than bring me all the way out, the other guy's holding my leg, bringing me down, I'm going to go with the 2 inches.
But we did that in 2020, and it didn't stop nothing.
And look at his thought process. And this is what hurts our community all the time. He said, if I'm drowning, and the only person that's going to bring me up is the man that's willing to bring me up 2 inches while other people are dragging me down, I'm just going to take the 2 inches. We continue to settle for less. You can't make this up. Why would I want to follow somebody who's okay with 2 inches of breathing and doesn't want to be fully saved? Y'all better start listening to these people. These people are literally telling you what they think.
Oh, in 2020, we know we made some advancements in those 4 years. We were able to stopping first. We was able to deal with saving some healthcare. We were able to deal with infrastructure development where blacks got some contracts. We got some things done, but then it reverts back. If you look at history, it is always one step forward and one back. After slavery, we had 12 years of Reconstruction, then 50 years of Jim Crow. So if we don't understand that they're going to fight back, I think the problem is a lot of us relax and say, we won now, we there now. No, the fight is just as much important when you in as when you're trying to get in.
So where do we go from now? We look at all the things that Trump is doing, right? He said he's going to possibly run a third or fourth term. You never have to vote again.
Yeah, well, that's talk.
Is he?
Well, first of all, to get a third term, you have to change the Constitution. You've got to get 2/3 of the Senate to vote for it, 2/3 of the House, and then 2/3 of the states to ratify that. That ain't gonna happen. So, but what he's doing is his boys got caught on that Signal
sending text out. Yep.
On that Signal app, and he's trying to change the conversation. He's a master at that. He knows how we all talk about is he going to run again rather than talk about how the vice president, secretary of defense, secretary of state, and all of them were on an app talking about classified stuff of attacking a building in Yemen. And Trump's sitting up there, how do I change the conversation? I'm going to throw out there. He's only been in 3 months. Why would we even be talking about what he's going to do in 4 years? And Biden was too old, we said, right? Trump will be 82 years old in 4 years. I mean, as crazy as it is now, can you imagine what he's going to be like at 82 years old, trying to convince 2/3 of the state to bring him back in? It's all in his mind. It's a decoy to try to get away from the issues right now because they can't rationally. This is the first time you see in red states they have an election in Wisconsin, 2 in Florida, where they are fighting to win those elections. Because even whites are now going to their town hall meetings saying, wait a minute, you messing with my Social Security. Wait a minute, you messing with my Medicare. Republican congressmen can't hold town hall meetings. So he's got to try to change the conversation, make it something else. And he's good at that.
There's no doubt in my mind that Republicans are going to fumble the ball. You already see it happening now, right? Based off what you just said about what's happening at the town halls, on a larger level, you see what's going on at the stock market, all of that type of stuff. But even when they fumble, I don't think Democrats have the team to recover the ball.
Now, there you and I agree. I think
Let that simmer. There you and I agree. Al Sharpton has been doing this for, decades on top of decades. And he still doesn't have the confidence that we have the right Democratic candidate to put into the White House. Let me say that again. He's been doing this for a multitude of decades. And he still doesn't have any faith that we have the right Democrat candidate to put into the House. It doesn't matter how much the Republicans fumble the bag or the conservatives fumble the bag. It's just going to be picked up. Next, it's going to be picked up by JD. Then after JD, it's going to be Vivek Ramaswamy. And then after that, it might get a little simmer of a Democrat person. They might try to push Wes Moore up there, the black governor. I think he's like the only black governor right now as well. So they might try to put him on the pedestal, but he's going to have to get his personal life together as well. So, but that's another show, another topic for another show. With that being said, just listen. I keep telling you guys, if we start to listen more than we talk, the answers are right in front of us.
The problem is that you got the wrong team players. You cannot play a game if you're not going to play the game. And if they're afraid of Trump's going to tweet, Trump's going to do this. Don't get in the ring if you're afraid to get hit.
I agree.
You got to throw a blow and expect the blow to come back. And that's what I've dealt with all my. I assume they're going to come and throw blows at me because I'm throwing blows at them. People say to me all the time, Red Mal, how do you take it? Because I expect it. I mean, do I think I'm going to swing at them and call them bigots and talk about what they're doing to us and they're not going to swing back? I think a lot of us act like the folks that we're talking about are wicked ain't really wicked. They are really wicked. And they're going to try to do wicked stuff.
What do we do? Do we? I feel like you should primary everybody in the Democratic Party who's not willing to fight. And the leadership, like the Chuck Schumer, the Hakeem Jeffries, if y'all not willing to fight, we should be calling for them to step down too.
Yeah, but the only way you can run in the primary is you got to be in the party. If you're not registered in the party, you can't primary. So I think that I agree with primary. And I agree that a lot of these people need to be challenged. But you've got to build up a base to challenge them. And that's why I talked about the temporary folks. You need them for flash, but you need your people that are going to be there.
And when he says flash, the person I think about, Jasmine Crockett is just a flash. She's flashing onto the scene. She's causing more harm than good. And she won't be around long term. She won't be there when it's time for 2028. When it's time to run again, she won't be nowhere to be found because she has done so much harm and so much damage. She's going to be one of those flashes, but nobody's building up a team. And I said this a few episodes ago, that why aren't you guys should be campaigning right now? Liberals, Democrats, you should be campaigning right now. You should have your person already ready, and that person should be going state to state campaigning, just like President Trump did. When Trump lost, he started campaigning. And he's been on the campaign trail for 4 years. And all you need is just enough. Because that's my thing. And as long as somebody's pushing the right things, hey, let's go. But with that being said, let's hear a little bit more.
In and out, so they can build some permanent structure.
Do you think it's crazy that, you know, you look at Trump, right? Like him, love him, hate him, whatever. The fact that he gets in office and he actually shows the power that we thought other presidents should have had, especially Democrats. Like, I mean, the first day he gets on stage, he gets a pen and he's signing executive orders left and right. I mean, his guys that has 20 years and just in prison, 10 years in prison, pardons them immediately. And then you look at some of our Democratic presidents and you'd be like, man, they could have helped so many people for good. It just never did. Just was cowardly and didn't. So how does that give the people confidence?
And that's why guys like me that would come to the Democrats and ask them to pardon people and didn't can be disappointed and say.
Think about that. You have this civil rights activist, this civil rights movement, Al Sharpton, who's went to the Democratic Party and asked for pardons, and they said no. So even the people who you think is there to help us is not there to help us. But they're going to help their people. And so that's why I don't get mad at white people. I can't get mad at a race that's willing to support and do what they need to do for their race. I can't even get mad. But us, we're gonna throw our race in jail. We're gonna one bad video come out of them slanging a girl around. They in federal prison for life. Like it's no recovery in the black community. You cannot recover from damage in the black community, and that's the problem. The white community, you can have a little hiccup here and there. Y'all remember when Dana White, I think he slapped his wife or whatever? Man, that went viral for about a week, and then after that, everybody right back on Dana White. We the only community that will continue to tear our own down when they make a mistake instead of holding them accountable and then building them back up.
I went to Biden and asked for certain pardons that we couldn't get.
He pardoned his son,
but I couldn't get him to pardon Jesse Jackson's son, and who should have been pardoned, and others. We went there.
So how does that make you
feel? I'm not getting everything I want, but I'm certainly not going to go on the other side.
And look at what he's saying. I'm not getting everything I want, but I ain't going to go on the other side, boss. I know y'all freeing them on that other side, but I ain't going over. Y'all keep talking about we on the plantation, we Uncle Tom's, because we black and we conservative, and y'all still on the Democratic plantation. Y'all will not get off of it.
So we need to then put the right kind of leadership there. You don't, if you're on a team, if the quarterback or the tacklers can't work, you get better team players. You don't join the other team. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. There's a difference in the frustration some of us are showing, and some of you express, and in those that went and joined the other team. They went and supported Trump like that was an alternative. The alternative to having a head cold is not suicide.
So how do you look at Mayor Eric Adams?
I was about to say you decided whether you're backing away from Eric Adams.
How do you look at Mayor Eric Adams? Yeah.
How do I do what?
Look at Mayor Eric Adams.
Look, Eric and I go way. When I started National Action Network, he was one of the founders. Mm-hmm. Where he is now, I think that he has made some positions that I disagree with, and I've told him that. Whether he made a deal with Trump or not, I don't know. But I know that there's some things in policing and all we disagree with, some things that we agree with. But I think that he's in a peculiar political position. I don't know how he can get reelected.
So you don't think that? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say so because before the conversation is that you are having a conversation about whether you're going to back him as mayor or not again. So you have made a decision not to.
I don't know that he's running yet. Has he said he's running?
He hasn't said. He has to Thursday to say if he's running again.
But if he does say right now, do you know what you would do?
Call me Thursday night.
I'll really call you. I'll really call you for that. Because I think for me, I'm looking at it because I definitely will. I'm looking at it because you've been so vocal about him, and now you're vocally like, I don't know what I'm going to do. What do you want him to do? Like, what do you expect him to do?
I want him to continue to fight for the things that I supported him on, like the right kind of policing in our community, like being fair to people that are getting cut out.
But what are y'all going to do for Eric? What are y'all going to do for him? Because y'all left him out to dry with this immigrant stuff in New York. Y'all left him out to dry now. Y'all want him to support what you need him to support, but who was there to stand up for him when he came out and said, hey, y'all, I tried to warn him that this wasn't a good idea once it started. See, we can't forget all the steps that lead up to these things. Because right now, Eric, mayor of New York, he has no support from y'all. Y'all not supporting this man. This man told y'all, hey, at first I thought it was a great idea to bring the immigrants in. But then it got out of hand and we started taking on more than we could. We pushing out resources to them. We spending billions of dollars for the immigrants in New York, but our own people are out here homeless and we can't help them. And so when he cried wolf, nobody's there to help him now. So now you don't know what you're gonna do for him unless he does something for you. And that's scratch my back, I scratch your back. I understand that. With that being said, stay steadfast. If you support the man in his good and his bad.
Of jobs in the city of New York, like standing up to Trump on a lot of this stuff that he is agreeing with Trump on. I do not agree that we should put Haitians and people of color in a category that they can be picked up by ICE just because of what they look
You
like.
don't
That
want
is
violent
racial
people
profiling.
off the street. Okay.
I want them to do those things.
Okay.
As a civil rights leader, do you feel like you should work with this administration on anything?
With the President Trump
this administration.
I don't think that I have that option. Trump has made it clear he's not going to work with civil rights leaders. Mm-hmm. He tweets at least once a month against me by name because I fought him when he was here.
Does that mean that he wouldn't work with you, though? Just because he tweets your name? He never came out of his mouth and said he wouldn't work with a civil rights. See, that's another thing we love to do. We love to put words in people's mouth. He never said that. Just because he don't agree with the things that you want him to agree with, just like you want your good old Eric up there in New York to agree with you, and he don't agree with everything with you. So he don't support civil rights activists because of tweets. We all have tweeted something out. That doesn't mean I don't love you. Come on, y'all.
Yeah, Central Park 5. We fought them when everybody thought they were guilty. Them boys went to jail. And 2 of them at my rallies every week now because we support them. So I don't think that there are areas that he and I could ever work together. But even though he tried to play Democrat, he used to come to National Action Network Convention. Twice he came. But there are some that can work with him, I guess. They need to do that. But they need to show us the result of the work. You remember, both of you, you remember when I had access to Obama. I could come out and say, well, I got Obama to do this on that. I've not seen any black come out and say, I got Trump to do anything. In fact, the last black I saw come out of there was Omarosa, who said he's a racist. We don't even have an Omarosa in the White House now.
Do you feel like there's enough resistance on the street?
No, I do not. I think that the resistance on the street, when you see one of the things we're talking about is doing a boycott against a single company, not talking about we're going to do it 10 days, 30 days. You boycott. I grew up in Operation Breadbasket. You boycott till you break them, or you make them do what you want to do. You don't put a timeline because they'll just wait on you. Then it's we got 40 days. You need to break.
So if you didn't just notice there, he just threw a little shot at Pastor Jamal. You don't give them days. You don't tell them how long you're going to boycott. See, they're not even on the same page. You remember how Pastor Jamal Bryant said those other pastors should have got together on a phone call and discussed to them what their plan was going to be and how they were going to do things? Well, it don't sound like he got on the phone with Pastor Al, with Reverend Al Sharpton either. So
break things down economically. None of these companies that we're studying coming out with NAN can survive a long boycott because you find out who has a margin of profit, 4 or 5%. And their consumer dollars, 30% come from the black community, which means all you got to do is stop 7, 8 out of those 30 to not buy the product longer than they can operate in the red. That's how you do a boycott. That's what we're getting ready to do. So you don't want DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion? Fine. Then you shouldn't have a diversified consumer base. You can't have diversity in your selling, in your sales, but you don't want diversity in the C-suite, then why are we buying from you? I can buy my stuff from somebody else, and that's what we're coming out this week on the companies that we're going after, and we're going to stay on them until we get them to turn around on this DI thing.
Which companies? I was going to ask you.
I'm going to announce it at the end of the convention.
Okay.
That's one thing that...
and we're going to announce where we march every year, a big march, a couple 100,000 in Washington. We're going to do it somewhere else this year. I'm going to announce that on Saturday.
Is that due to the boycott?
It's going to be connected to economics. It's just an economic battle. We do not have the Senate. We do not have the House. But Trump and the Senate and the House can't tell us where to spend our dollars. We ought to focus on corporate businesses and force them to
Sounds like Reverend Al Sharpton got a plan. Guess we'll see after the convention.
tell their man, Donald Trump, what they got to back up on.
That's the mistake that was made after George Floyd, when all those corporations was, proposed all that money that we never saw. I remember Reverend Jesse Jackson pressuring corporations back in the day.
That's right.
To keep their promises.
Well, I was his youth director.
That's right.
That's why I know. I've been there. I'm not experimenting. I was there. I became youth director of Operation Breadbaskets, which when I was 13. So I grew up in this. And you don't have a timeline on boycott. And you don't stop the pressure until, first of all, these are the 6 things we want: contracts, money in black banks. That's what we were doing. Advertising on black media. You don't even have black media no more. We would categorize it now. We don't do that anymore. And that's why we got to bring that back, because that worked.
What do you mean by we don't have black media anymore?
We don't have enough black-owned media.
Oh, got you. Okay.
We had more black-owned media in 20 years ago than we have now.
Got you.
How did you feel? I seen the press go at you and go at a lot of the people that Kamala Harris's campaign gave money to during the campaign. So what was your thoughts on that?
I expected that. I thought they was late. Kamala Harris gave some civil rights groups money to help get the vote out, nonpartisan, signed a contract with us that we could not in any way endorse candidates, so that they were protected, we were protected. Nobody ever asked us, did y'all have a contract? I think she gave several groups a couple $1 million. She gave National Action Network $500,000. And the tour we took, I took Central Park 5, 2 of them all over the country, which cost us more than that. We had to raise more money. So I expected them to do that. And my thing is, fine, we can bring the contract. Let's go to court, because then I'm going to ask you about all the monies Republicans was giving some of these Christian conservative churches and these groups. They're going to take a shot. They are not going to mess with you unless you messing with them. Isn't it interesting? You got some of the people that you referred to that got some of that money during the George Floyd. They ain't talking about them. They ain't prosecuting them. They're going after other people. I'm talking about people that did crazy stuff with that money. None of them have you heard got a problem, but they still beating up on us.
I had a question for you. You
That
mentioned
is true. Man,
No, go
there's
ahead.
people that got hundreds of millions of dollars and nobody say nothing.
Not a dime.
Hey,
But I get $500,000 on a $700,000 tour, and all of a sudden.
But you know what that's about, though? It's because you're like a figure, a face that people want to move and target.
And I accept that. That's why I don't get mad. I don't be crying. In fact, I get a little upset if they don't hit me at least once every couple of weeks. Must mean I ain't got my fastball. Then Charlemagne the God be saying I done got old, so I gotta stay.
You gotta stay ready, so you don't gotta get ready.
Stay in the middle of the heat.
I had a question. You mentioned like having black people standing next to Trump. We don't have anybody right now doing that.
Yeah.
You talk about Omarosa. People compare Candace Owens to Omarosa, and we're saying that she was trying to position herself that way. I know she's not the biggest fan of you, but like, do you think something like that would have been a help or a hurt for us if she was able to position herself the way she was trying to?
Who?
Candace Owens.
And you put a Candace Owens and that category. She's not been in the White House.
No, she hasn't.
Omarosa was in the White House.
People felt like she was trying to position herself that way to get there.
I have no idea. If she walked in right now, I wouldn't know. So I don't know this.
I know that's right.
He know who that is, y'all. He know who that is.
I love what y'all do with Operation Breadbasket. I have done with Operation Breadbasket. That's something that I think that this generation needs to study a lot more.
When you look at, I remember with Breadbasket, we would go at McDonald's or Burger King or whatever and say, you got to have black franchises. That's how and I can name those that had them. And those were spelled out results so you could gauge it. And that's what we got to go back to. We want our own businesses. Yes. Okay. Give us some franchise. Put money in black banks where we.
So that must what happened in my community where I grew up in Louisiana. We actually had the Griggs family, I think they were called. It was a black family. They owned a bunch of McDonald's franchises. And that must be how he got all those franchises, because he had a bunch of them. But I'm going to tell you one thing. They did treat their employees right. They did pay a lot. Because I worked at McDonald's growing up in high school, and I worked for the Christmans, a white Christian family who paid us very well. We got to eat free. When you went to the Greg's place, you had to pay to eat, even if you was an employee. Things are different on the other side.
We can loan money. When you look at the fact right here in New York City, let's use New York, for example. You have 2/3 of the city of New York, black and brown. Ask who is managing the funds for the taxpayers. I met with, had all the mayoral candidates come to our convention, and that's one of the things I raised with Eric going with your thing. How do you have all of this money and none of the blacks in financial services, whether they in asset management or whatever, are handling a large sum of the money, is our taxpayers. So let me tell you what happens. I meet with a union. A union says that 70% of my union members are black and Latino. I said, who invests their pension funds? Oh, the pension board takes care of that. Let me meet with the pension board. Pension board's all white. They lend money to developers. Those developers take their money and gentrify our community. So grandma's pension funds is the ones that are financing her own removal. We need to start thinking economic again.
And I want to ask you too. I know that y'all have driven a lot more traffic to Costco because Costco is somebody who stood by their DEI initiatives. What is Costco doing for the movement?
What is Costco doing for the movement? Because we don't know what Target's doing for the movement because Pastor Jamal Bryant has moved on. We haven't heard from Pastor Jamal Bryant. We need him to come to the front of the congregation so we can find out what Target is doing for the black community.
Well, I don't want them to do nothing for me personally. They've never donated to nothing. But I want them to open up some Costco stores where we can own some of those stores. We can franchise some of those stores. We want to see. We went and said we're going to do a boycott. We go in there and buy because they stood up for us. But now do business with us. I don't want, again, for us to always be the receivers of what is considered charity. Give us parity.
So as you see there, he didn't have an answer because Costco didn't do anything for the black community. And now they're asking for things, right? We gave them more of our money to convince them that we should own more. Let me say that one more time. We gave them more of our money to convince them that we should own more. You know what Costco is going to tell y'all? Hey, we supporting y'all. We supporting DEI. Now you want to take some of our stores, but we're doing what you're going to do with your stores. Stuff is crazy, man.
And you got the National Action Network.
All right. So as you see, that's Al Sharpton. They're about to go into the national network thing. And they're going to start talking more about just like who's going to be there. Governor Westmore. I think Patti LaBelle is going to get some award. Charlamagne is going to be there in behalf of for Patti LaBelle. So they're going to just start talking about stuff like that and making jokes. With that being said, I wanted you guys to be able to hear those good 25 minutes of Al Sharpton to really, saying the right thing, but also causing more harm than good. Because as it sounds like Al Sharpton doesn't even believe in the Democrat Party. He believes in the civil rights and what he's trying to do in the movement he's trying to push, but he doesn't believe that there's a good candidate for the Democrat Party. And he said it multiple times. And you heard Charlamagne say that, hey, he hasn't been on the Democrat boat for a while. So with that being said, I hope you guys get something out of this reaction video of Al Sharpton on the Breakfast Club. As I leave every video, God loves you, which is most importantly. I love you. You're beautiful. And your boy's out. Let go.